to win it for Detroit with a three. 7 seconds left. Tie game at 101. 4 seconds. 3. Get it off. Bam for 3. Yes! Bam wins the game with a 3.
Welcome back to another edition of Six Borough Sports, your home for New York and South Florida sports. Today, before we get started, I want to remind everyone to please like, comment, and subscribe. We're trying to get up to at least 20 subscribers, at least. And I appreciate all the views last week, and we're going to continue to make at least one video a week. We're going to start off with some Heat after that three that Bam hit against the Pistons. The Heat are still not playing that great. We got FAU basketball getting ready for the March Madness. And finally, we're going to wrap it up with some more NFL free agency talk. The Jets are putting together a pretty decent roster, but it's not about winning the offseason. It's about winning the Super Bowl. So let's see what happens with that. But first, the Miami Heat continue to kind of struggle here. They didn't do well against the Nuggets and then proceeded to play the Pistons on a home and away. The first game was closer than it should have. And then the second game, Bam went in and hit that clutch deep three. They won. They ended up winning. I was watching the game with a Heat fan friend of mine, and we were like looking at each other, and it's like they're playing very poorly. So, like, I don't know if I'm supposed to have any confidence in this team. And then they went ahead and proceeded to get blown out by the Sixers. Tyrese Maxey was all over the place on them on that. And they're playing Cleveland tonight. That's a rough game, and that game's up in Cleveland. So we'll see. It's very hard to be optimistic right now with the way they're playing. They should have lost one of those Pistons games. They got really lucky that Bam knocked down that three. Also in that game, Duncan Robinson was knocking them down. He had 30 points. He was lighting it up all game, or at least mostly in the first half. But yeah, the Heat need to get their act together as we get closer and closer to the playoffs, because they are not taking advantage and gaining in the standings right at this current moment. Now, the Knicks, they are playing a little better than the Heat. In their last 10, they have been 6-4. They just lost OG Anunoby to an elbow injury, but Mitchell Robinson is coming back early from an injury. So they are kind of catching up with their injury problems, getting ready for the playoffs. But then again, they seem to take 2 steps forward and 2 steps back with the injury bug. Hopefully, like I said earlier, they can come together with a healthy roster and play the Heat. But right now, the Heat are the 8th seed. The Knicks are the 4th seed. So the Heat, they need to get their act together and win some more games. They need to catch up to the Pacers, and they should have beat the Sixers. And don't look now, but the Magic are right on the Knicks' heels too, and they could move up to the 4th seed. They're having a great year. I think I mentioned that last time. We also got to watch out for Cleveland, who, again, the Heat are playing tonight at 7. We'll see what happens with that one. Also, the Knicks, they're playing the Nuggets next, and then they play the Nets. Should be an easy win, but we'll see. It's a rivalry game. Anything can happen. But I do want to see these teams, come together and be healthy for the playoffs. The Nets have an outside chance of maybe being a play-in team, but there's not really any point to it. I mean, I don't think they have their draft pick because it went to Houston. They have a bunch of like Suns picks or something, or Mavericks picks that are borderline useless because they don't draft that great anyway. So the Nets are pretty much in a no-win situation. I mean, if they make the playoffs, that's great. If they make the play-in, that's great. But I don't think they're going to do it. And even if they did, they're not going anywhere. So we'll see what happens next year with the Nets. Hopefully they can clear out some cap space and make some moves, because I still think that players do want to play for the Nets, or at least in Brooklyn. But we'll see what happens next year. Moving on, we got FAU making the NCAA tournament and playing Northwestern on Friday at noon. I will be at work, unfortunately. I won't be able to watch this game. So hopefully FAU wins, and I can go ahead and see them make another tournament run. They are technically the favorite. It's an 8 versus a 9, which is a negligible difference between the two teams, but it should be exciting. In other tournament news, Virginia got embarrassed by Colorado State. And I can't help but laugh because Virginia is this team that plays this strategy of eating clock and then playing lockdown like trap defense. It's very boring and it creates very low scoring games. And they finally got a little bit of their comeuppance this week. So they're out of the tournament. So that's always nice to see. Um, More of an update with FAU. FAU is in the same bracket. They got a lot of familiar faces actually. As San Diego State, who beat them in the Final Four last year in the most rigged second half I've ever seen in any sport. Atrocious officiating that was pro San Diego State. It's just ridiculous. It was ridiculous last year. They do have a chance to get revenge. They're in the same bracket. And FAU is also in the same bracket as UConn, but UConn is playing another familiar face to FAU as well. Stetson, fellow Florida team, I think this is their first time winning their conference, so that should be interesting. We'll see what happens. The committee seemed to be more accepting of mid majors this year as opposed to the other years, so it should be a more interesting tournament, giving smaller schools a chance based on the results last year. So I'm looking forward to this bracket. I would keep an eye out for McNeese State. They have a coach who was from LSU who was fired for violations, and they had a great year. So keep an eye out for them as a Cinderella team. I like FAU's chances. I think they can do well. They've beaten, a ranked 2 team in Arizona during the regular season. If Arizona won that game, they might be a number 1 seed. So very exciting to see March Madness, and here's to hoping that FAU can go far again and continue to build their sports program. And finally, the New York Jets, listening to my off-season advice, picked up Cowboys tackle Tyron Smith. A shout out for that, for making the Cowboys offensive line weaker. Left guard John Simpson and right tackle Morgan Moses. I mean, this is exactly what the Jets needed over this offseason. They need to protect Aaron Rodgers. I heard some mock drafts having the Jets drafting a top tight end in the first round, which would be good for offensive weaponry, but he should be able to know how to block. I don't want like a Jimmy Graham out there not doing any blocking. He's got to be able to block somewhat. So it should be interesting. The Jets, if they can keep Rodgers healthy and the offensive line can actually work together, they should be a good team. Also, considering that the Bills and the Dolphins got markedly worse due to free agency losses and cap issues. The thing I don't like about the Jets is, well, it's two pronged. Is Nathaniel Hackett? I don't trust him. This has been 2 straight jobs now where he's struggled to form a coherent offense. And based on the rumors and all the talk, it looks like the Jets offensively didn't know what they were doing last year. And there wasn't any sign of improvement. So I do want to see a little more out of the Jets offense. But if they can't get that going, they're not going anywhere. I don't really trust Robert Saleh. And that goes somewhat back to the offense. I mean, he is the head coach at the end of the day. I know he's a defensive head coach, but you need to be, as head coach, knowing what's going on with the defense. And if you can't, get the offense working well, even though you're a defensive head coach, then that's on you. You're the head coach at the end of the day. And he didn't do the work that needed to be done to improve the offense. So, I mean, they're both him and Hackett are on their last legs here anyway. So it's do or die for the entire team. I don't even know if the Jets struggle and Rodgers is healthy the whole year. Do they move on from Rodgers? That's another question. I don't even know. But they'll be interesting to watch. They were interesting to watch last year. I know their offense wasn't very fun, but their defense kept them close in games, and they had some good games. Not the Giants Jets game. That game was terrible. But the Bills game, the first game of the season, that was a good game. And that Chiefs game was pretty good. And then the refs got involved in that. So we all know how that ended. But should be intriguing. The Dolphins got it the safety from the Bills, stacked up their roster a little bit to make up for some of their losses. And it's kind of like some counter spying on the Bills. So the Dolphins making some small moves, but nothing crazy because, again, they have major cap problems. The Giants are still talking to people. They have some cap space. The Giants, their main offseason moves are going to be in the draft. The Vikings moving up kind of throw everything into a little bit of a monkey wrench, I guess you could say, into everything just because we don't know what the Vikings are going to do. They could, move more draft capital and move up even more, or they could stay where they are. There's a whole bunch of options with that the Vikings do. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of trades this draft. I think more teams are more willing to trade and wheel and deal in this next draft. So that's it for this week. Tune in next week. We'll probably talk FAU. Hopefully, it won't be the end of their season. And I'm going to have to talk about this. There's some breaking news with Shohei Ohtani and his interpreter involving stolen funds and gambling. It's a whole mess. I'm just waiting for more stuff to come out, but we'll get to that next week. Please don't forget to like, comment, and to subscribe. We'll see you next week. Thank you.